Aiden here with a lead pro for the clean pro. And so I want to piggyback off of the last video we talked about, and it's on preparing to outreach and to begin your lead generation and your prospecting endeavors. We spoke about there's 4 basic different categories or tactics or skill sets or segments of the sales process from a salesperson's perspective. There's the lead generation, there's the prospecting, there's the persuasion or closing, and then there's the growing and expanding an account. And we're going to dive into all of that in the coming sessions. But where we were yesterday in the last video was we talked about the first step and getting ready to do your outreach is on the avatar and your target market. You know, who are you calling on? What is their job title? And the target market. Okay, so when we think about the target market, when we think about our avatar, I encourage you to watch that video if you didn't watch it. Now, once you have your avatar, your ideal customer profile, you have identified what their most likely hot buttons are, what they're interested in, the way they think, the way that they make decisions, the way that they communicate, the way that they connect, based on their job title and based on their role within the company and the industry that they're in. You can have some assumptions or hypotheses on that, and that's the best you can come up with on them when you're painting a whole bunch of people or a whole segment in one stroke. If you're going individually looking at each person's profile on LinkedIn and all these things, you can get more and more precise. And if you're calling on a small amount of accounts and you're just going after, maybe you're selling $1 million contracts, so you're only, working on 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, okay. But if you're not, and you're doing a broad spectrum, then we need to make some assumptions and throw the dart that's going to hit the biggest area possible. So we got the avatar. We have the avatar. We have the avatar. I have my little timer there to make sure I stay within. So we have the avatar. We have the target market. Now, probably the first step, but not really, but I want you to think of it like that, is we need to come up with our unique sales proposition. Okay? So what is our story? What is our messaging? What is it that's going to resonate with him or her? And the next piece we're going to get into in a few moments here correlates and works with alongside this. But what is your story, your point of differentiation that's going to separate you from the masses, from your competition? Okay, what's going to intrigue them when you outreach them? If you get them on the phone, if you email them, whatever, what is it that's going to make them say, oh, okay, right? And we need to think about this, and we need to play with it. We need to A/B test it. We need to test different things. But we also can come up with some assumptions and some ideas. So let's use the cleaning industry as an example. Let's say you are selling cleaning supplies or cleaning services. It doesn't matter in this analogy. And you have a principal you're calling on, or you have the director of facilities. Okay, same building, same company, 2 different titles, 2 different directives. So when we are going to create our story, our unique selling proposition, when we are trying to intrigue them with the outcomes that we can deliver, how we can positively impact them, why they need to do business with us, then if we use this analogy of the principal versus the director of facilities, let's think about what the two roles might be, because they're within the same building. The principal, I'm assuming, looks after the whole school. They're the CEO of the school. And they need that school to do well. They need these students to flourish. They need the teachers to be great teachers. They need to make the parents feel welcome. They need to make the parents feel that part of the community. There's a lot of things the principal needs to do. Thus, they're basically the CEO of that school. Director of facilities doesn't necessarily need to make the parents feel all warm and fuzzy. Director of facilities doesn't necessarily get judged on the whether or not there's all the students and they're at full capacity, right? So there's two different roles there and two different responsibilities. So before I go further into the story, I want to correlate it with the next step, which is linking your story, the outcomes, your messaging, to the company's P&L, profit and loss statement, or the income statement, or the statement of retained earnings. Most people know it as the P&L, profit and loss statement. And not going to geek out on you, not going to try to get you confused or anything. There's just basically 5 sections of an income statement, a P&L statement, for simplicity. Okay? There's revenue or sales. There's cost of goods or services. So revenue or sales, same thing. Cost of goods or services. Gross profit. Expenses. Net profit. Sales, cost of goods, gross profit, expenses, net profit. Those 5 things. So when we think of our avatar, when we think of our target market, when we think of our story, we link it, if possible, to the P&L, to the profit and loss statement. So does this change the story? Does this change your messaging? Does it change your unique selling proposition to the principal? Well, to the principal, he or she is responsible for all 5 sections of that income statement to some degree or another, right? They're responsible for the sales or the revenue. Now, they might not be directly responsible for the sales or the revenue, but if you look at it from the P&L statement, they need students to be there, and they need to be full capacity. They don't need them to be sick every day. They need 1% coming in every day. Depending on the country you live in, if they're paid per student per day, then that's even more important. So, but you get that the principal is going to be focused on all 5 of those categories. Director of facilities, probably not so much driven on the revenue or the sales of the school. However, they will be focused on director of facilities within the operations. They will be focused on the things that happen within the facility that might impact students, that might impact their health, might impact their ability to learn, all these things. So when we have our messaging, we have a wider net to try to catch the principal than we do with the director of facilities. So our messaging might change. So as an example, the story, the messaging, the outcomes might be with the principal, how to reduce student sick days, how to improve math scores and reading scores. Okay, now that is all absolutely things that you can do by having proper cleaning processes and products and stuff in the school. 100%. So the principal is going to be interested in learning about that. When you talk that message, it doesn't sound like you are selling cleaning supplies and or services. It sounds like you are helping them, potentially helping them with something that if it went wrong could cost him or her their job. The director of facilities is going to be more focused on indoor air quality, health and safety, regulatory compliance, and even things like sick days and things like that as it pertains to the students' ability to learn and being in the facility and making sure that they're not getting sick or anything like that, because once they're in that building, the indoor air quality and things like that can impact those students, and that falls on the director of facilities or one of their roles. So your messaging might be different to each of those particular people. And so that's the way that I like to think about it. I hope this helps you think about it differently. So before we start doing our lead generation, again, there's lead generation, there's prospecting, there's persuasion, and then there's getting the customer, retaining the customer, and growing the customer, right? That all kind of falls under growth. So we now understand who our avatar is, right? What his or her responsibilities are based on their job title, based on the role that job title carries, based on the industry you're in. Alongside the job title, you can kind of have an idea of things that they are going to be focused on, the responsibilities on, pain points that they want to make sure don't happen on their watch and for their role, for their responsibilities. So now we want to create a story that impacts their role of responsibility that usually, if possible, and many times you can't, most of the time you can, link it to the income statement or their role within the organization. So as an example, the school, the director of facilities has a role that impacts that income statement to some degree. Sales, cost of goods, gross profit, expenses, and net profit. So there's a section definitely within expenses, right? The cost of being fined for regulatory non-compliance, health and safety violations, all of these things, right? Those all have a direct impact on the revenues of the school. And so that's how we want to talk. That's how we want to articulate. And we want to have some assumptions and a hypothesis to get us in the door, or to create intrigue and to create a conversation. And so that's the four components of that. Now we're going to dive deeper into that along the process here, but for today, that's what I want to focus on, is the who. So your target market, your avatar, ideal customer profile, your story of the outcomes that you deliver, and we're going to do a real deep dive on that as it pertains to the cleaning industry down the road. And the profit and loss statement, the 5 sections of the profit of loss statement, right? Can you help them increase revenue? Can you help them reduce the cost to generate that revenue, right? So can you help them impact those profits? By impacting revenues or cost of goods, cost of sales, you impact gross profit. Can If you can't do that, can you impact the expenses that, can you lower expenses to deliver the outcomes and the promises and the goods that they sell? In this case, education. And so the difference between the top part and the expenses is the net profit or the profitability of the organization. And if people are paid on profit or people are paid, then that is absolutely massive, right? So this is the way to think about it. You do not have to become a financial accounting whiz. You don't have to understand the in-depthness of an income statement. You just need to understand there's these 5 basic sectors of the income statement, and how can you link what you're doing to that. You're not going to say to them probably ever, oh, I can help you reduce, well, you might say, I'd like to talk to you about how to reduce your operational costs, improve the efficiencies within your the way you create your product or deliver your service. But you're not referring to the income statement. You're not going to say, I can help you impact the top line of your income statement, unless maybe you're talking to a CEO, and then they like to talk about top line growth, right? It's all about the bottom line, net profit. It's all about the top line sales, right? So you might refer to those a little bit, but for the general part, you're not talking to them about the income statement. You're talking to them. What you're talking about is the things that happen inside each of those 5 categories within the organization. So I hope you found this of value. We're building right now so that we can execute. Hope you found this of value. Either like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'm Aiden Rigg.